So some people have been asking me which metrics I look at to determine if an ad is successful or if it's not successful. So there are a few ones that I look at, and in this video I'm going to tell you about those, and towards the end I'll share my screen with you and show you exactly where you can find those metrics in your ad account so you can get your ads fine-tuned. So I've really divided the metrics that I look at into two categories. The first is delivery, so are my ads getting delivered? And the second is the quality of my ads, which means, am I serving them to the right audience? Is the audience reacting well to those ads? And ultimately, are those ads getting me leads? The reason I like to look at delivery first is because if I'm not reaching the audience, then obviously I'm not able to look at the quality because I'm not getting in front of people. When looking at deliverability, I look at three things. I look at reach, I look at is my budget that I'm setting, my daily budget being spent, and the frequency at which the ad is being shown to my audience. So let's take reach. You can see this in Facebook, but if an ad is only delivering to 300-400 people, that's probably not going to be enough for you to get leads. This is often a problem when you upload a small list or you get really specific on the targeting. Facebook uses an auction system, so you're bidding against other advertisers to get in front of those people. So even if your target audience says that you may be able to reach 10,000 people when you're setting up the ad, you may end up only reaching 500 or 700, and that's really not going to be enough people to get in front of to get the leads that you want. So reach is really an important thing to look at. If you're not reaching enough people, you're not going to be able to find enough people that are motivated. So the second thing that I look at is budget. So let's say you set a budget of $5 a day to reach a certain campaign, and a few days later you notice that Facebook is really only spending $2 or $3 a day. And what this means is that Facebook isn't actually able to spend the money that you're giving it because the audience probably isn't big enough. So similar to reach, this is another indication that your audience may be a little bit too narrow for Facebook to do its job effectively. The other downside of having your audience too narrow with too big a budget for it is you're going to end up with a very high CPM, which is your cost per 1,000 impressions. And that's because Facebook is doing everything they can to reach those people, and it is an auction system. So you're competing against other advertisers, and with a really small audience, you're not going to be spending your budget optimally. You're going to be spending as much as you can to get in front of those people. So that's a good indicator that you need to set up a wider audience, or you maybe need to reduce your budget for that audience and experiment with additional audiences. The last thing that I like to look at for deliverability is frequency. So frequency is how many times your ad has come across someone's screen. If you start to see this number getting too high, you may start to run into something called ad fatigue. And that can be when someone has seen your same ad over and over again, and they're not gonna react to it anymore. So there's a couple things that you can do here. Obviously, you can widen up the audience, or you can create more ads within that audience. So even though they may be seeing ads from you, often they're going to be seeing different ones, and a different ad may resonate with a different person. You can also use dynamic creative here, which will put together different combinations of text and different combinations of images or videos, and that will help you get around the ad fatigue problem. But you still do want to be careful with this metric. If you're serving people ads, 10, 15 times over a 30-day period, I mean, that's pretty heavy. I mean, and it will probably start to hurt your other metrics, like your click-through rate and like your cost per lead. This can be particularly an issue on retargeting campaigns, especially in the beginning, where your retargeting audience may only be a few hundred people. So the second area that I like to look for is ad quality, which is which ads are working and which ads aren't. And there's a few areas that I look at here. I like to look at click-through rate, cost per lead, and if it's a video ad, I like to look at the video views metric. But I do like to look at a few things within each of those metrics, which I'm going to go over now. So under click-through rate, I look into a few different ways that Facebook breaks this down. So the first one is your link click-through rate. So that's how many people click your ad that either brings them to their website, or if you're using a lead form, to open a lead form. The other way is they call it the click-through rate all. And that means someone clicked anywhere on your ad, not necessarily through to your website. So an example of this may be that they clicked the page at the top and they went to your page on Facebook or on Instagram if you're running an ad there. The third one I like to look at is the unique click-through rate, which is how many unique people click through. So it's a little different than the other metrics because sometimes you're serving multiple ads to the same person, and the unique click-through rate will give you a little bit better insight into if they clicked any of those ads, versus the others are going to take the total amount of ads you've served to them, and then they're going to divide that by the number of clicks. So your unique click-through rate is generally going to be a lot higher than your normal click-through rate, especially for retargeting campaigns. Some numbers that I'm looking for here, it obviously all depends on the type of campaign I'm running. You know, if I'm running a video view campaign, I'm less concerned about the click-through rate and more concerned about other metrics. But if I am running a campaign to try to drive people to my website, so if I'm running a campaign optimized for link clicks, or if I'm running a conversions campaign, I'm going to look at this metric a lot more than a video views campaign. So the numbers I'm usually looking for is I'm looking for a link click-through rate of 1% or higher. So 1 in 100 people are clicking through to my website or to my lead form from the ad. And obviously I let these ads run for a few days before I look at that metric. Click-through rate this should be higher than the link click-through rate. I don't necessarily have a specific number I'm looking for here, but generally I like to see it being about 50% better than the link click-through rate. So those are people who maybe aren't ready to go to my website or fill out a form, but they've clicked through to my page to learn more. So it is helpful, and Facebook does also allow us to retarget those people because they have shown some kind of interest. So the unique click-through rate, I'm really looking for a higher number here, 3 or 4%, because those people are seeing multiple ads, and if they're not clicking through, then I'm probably targeting the wrong audience. So the second thing that I like to look for in quality is cost per lead. So Facebook lets you view that on Facebook leads, which are if someone has filled out a lead form on Facebook, or you can set up your pixel for website conversions and track those as leads as well. I've generally found that you'll get more leads using lead forms. So that's people filling out the form on Facebook than going to your website. But the quality of the lead is generally a little higher for people going to the website because it does take a little more effort, and they're more likely to remember your company. So I play with both. I'm going to be running ads for both, see which works better. Ultimately, when looking further down the funnel, everything goes into my CRM, and I start to look at really the cost per qualified lead. So I'll mark those leads as they come in after I've spoken to them. Were they a qualified lead, meaning, are they actually a potentially motivated seller or not? And then I'm going to take that and really look at those numbers and determine if I should be using lead forms, if I should be using conversion campaigns and getting people to convert on my website, or maybe I need to tweak up some things in my ad copy. If I'm targeting sellers who are not motivated, I may need to change the way that I'm wording things so that I'm getting a better quality or better qualified lead. The last metric that I like to look at is video views. So Facebook breaks this down in a bunch of ways, but personally I look at 10-second video views, through plays, and 50% video views if the video that I'm using is longer. So 10-second video views are obvious. That's how many, what percentage of people watch your video for 10 seconds or more. Through play, Facebook considers that, did they watch almost all the way to the end of the video, or if the video is longer than 15 seconds, did they watch the video for 15 seconds or more? And 50% video views is just like what it sounds like. Did they watch half of your video or more? Obviously, this metric is only useful if your video is longer than 30 seconds. Otherwise, you can just look at that through play metric and get the same thing. I tend to make a lot of videos between 45 seconds and a minute. So this is pretty helpful. I figure if someone is watching my 1-minute video for 30 seconds, they're probably at least somewhat interested. And I use video views a lot for retargeting. People may not click through to the website, but if they've watched 30 seconds of me talking about how they can sell their home quickly, I think there's probably some level of interest there, and it's worth the money to serve them more ads. So I'm going to jump over now. I'll show you guys exactly how you can set this up in Facebook Ads Manager to look at these metrics. Obviously, I'm still working on tweaking my campaigns, but these are the metrics that I look for as I tweak them to figure out the audiences that I should be using, the creative, so that's the video or images I should be using, and the ad copy. So here's one of my old ad sets, and this is a video views campaign, so you'll see that the click-through rate is going to be a lot lower. And this was a prospecting campaign, so top of funnel, so these were people who had never seen my page before. And I'll show you guys how I set up all those metrics that I just talked about. So you're going to go over here, and you're going to hit Customize Columns. And from here, you can create all the columns that you want. So let's go through. We'll do the delivery ones first. So we've got reach, we've got frequency, and we've got amount spent, which is the amount of your budget that has been spent. So we've got those three. So now let's jump over into quality. So we're going to look at the click-through rate. So we have the unique clicks. So this is the number of people. So you can look at that metric, but the more important part, in my opinion, is the percentage of that metric. So as long as you're getting the sufficient views, then the percentages really matters there. So unique CTR is a percentage of people who click through, so we'll select that. Then we'll select the link click-through rate. So that's the percentage of people who click that link that I talked about before, and we'll look at the click-through rate all. Now we're going to move on to cost per lead. So we can put leads and cost here, and then you can see here on the, now that I've selected this, on the right side here it says website leads and on Facebook leads. So I like to keep both selected because I am going to send some people to my website to convert, and some people I'm going to serve lead forms. And the final one is video views. So I can just type that in here, and I don't really look at 3 second, as I mentioned, but 50% video views. And the other option is, let's see if I can view through plays. Yep, through plays as well. And then for some reason, Facebook doesn't allow you to view 10-second video views on a customized column, but I'll show you where you can view that in a second. So we're here. You can go and you can eliminate any of the ones that you don't want anymore. I have some extra ones selected here. I like to leave CPM just to see where that's at. And once you're good, you can go here and you can hit save as a preset, and I'll just call this metrics. And that way you don't have to set this up every single time you want to view these views. And you can see here, again, this is a video views campaign, so it's not optimized for link clicks, but you can view everything that you care about here. We've got our through plays. We've got our video plays 50%, frequency, click-through rate, and click-through rate all. So now these are all on one section here. And where you can see those 10-second video views is if Facebook has a lot of pre-set up ones here. I make this one so it has all the ones I need that are most important to me in one screen, but I also do check through these other ones. So I can go here, and if I specifically care about video engagement for a video ad, now we can scroll through and see all the metrics that Facebook has around that. The cost per through play, how many views we have at 25, 50, 75, 95, and 100%. And then we also have the cost per 10-second video view here as well. So the customized area, you can see now I can easily click there on any campaign and get there. It's helpful, but don't ignore that you can look at the other metrics here and get into more detail on each one. It's good to have an overhead view, but sometimes you'll want to dive in and say, maybe where am I losing people in the video? Can I start testing a lot more videos to get to the point that I want to be?